Welcome to D20 Epic Level. Today we're going to go over some interesting information. Can I raise the dead on ooze, chairs, pieces of fur, or something made from living organisms? So let's jump right in and get started. So of course there are some things going on about the fact that we can raise dead or use necromancy spells to basically bring the dead back to life in some form or another. From raising the dead to using necromancy spells to have like weird chairs moving around that are alive, which fall under the animate object spell. But of course, we want to go in and dive a little deeper and see if we can analyze some of this stuff and like really see what it is that denies us the ability to do that. So as you can see with Raise Dead here, right in the first paragraph, you return a dead creature you touch to life, and provided that it has been dead for no longer than 10 days. Well, we can identify right off the bat that the process time for food, for any type of objects, they're going to be processed for over 10 days before you get to raise dead, with a really high percent chance that the 10-day mark is not going to work. But of course, we could always take it a step further and look at maybe a higher level spell and see if we can then use that. I do want to touch base on the reincarnate spell. As you can see, the reincarnate spell states a dead humanoid or piece of a dead humanoid. So this eliminates any object or any other creature. Doesn't really eliminate fur, because fur is part of a creature that could be humanoid, such as werewolves, or tabaxi for that matter. So I would say that this one is still questionable at the moment, but let's see if we can see about those higher level spells. So as with Resurrection, now a 7th level spell, it is quite expensive with 1,000 gold pieces, but it states in the very first paragraph, you touch a dead creature that has been dead for no more than a century. Of course, we clearly know that a creature is identified clearly as a creature that was once alive, that is not. You touch a dead creature that has been dead for no more than a century. They didn't die of old age. So right here you're looking at, it is a creature, and we're not talking about a piece of a creature, we're talking about a full creature that has been resurrected. It does close all the wounds and restores missing body parts, but we're still looking at the fact that it's a creature, and as a creature, you need an actual full creature for this to really work, or a good chunk of the creature to restore missing body parts too, not individual pieces or organic cells at that state. So I believe we need to look into what a creature really is in D&D, and if we can identify that, we shouldn't have a problem identifying whether or not these spells are going to actually work with raising the dead from organic material inside other structures such as chairs, pies, pieces of fur, which I think with the information that we have, we just need to identify what a creature is. But let's go a little step further and check out True Resurrection. So we can see right off the bat here with True Resurrection, you can see it's very expensive, 25,000 gold pieces, 9th level spell, so we're at the top level spell that we can possibly get. And looking at it, again, it states you touch a creature that has been dead for no longer than 200 years. Um, Again, with the exception of old age, the soul is free and willing to come back, and it takes an hour to cast, but again, we are touching a creature, and because we're touching a creature, we have to actually have a creature to touch. So when you identify what consists as a creature in D&D, for this particular spell as well. But let's go and backtrack and look at a necromancy spell. Clearly we can see here, you're basically creating an undead servant. It specifies a pile of bones or a corpse of medium or small humanoid within range. So we already know that this cannot be used on anything that wasn't humanoid, but if we're talking about oozes, chairs, and things, plasmoid could be considered a humanoid. So I think because plasmoid is a playable race, it may work, but not oozes as a NPC monster. It does say a pile of bones, so if we don't have the actual bones to do so, it says a pile, so that doesn't mean singular. So you need at least more than one, not a segment or a small piece of it. And it needs to be a corpse. So a corpse is not something that is processed. And let's just go look at the definition of that and go from there. Alright, so right off the bat we can see that a dead body is, especially of a human being rather than an animal. Specifying a dead body means you have to have a body there to even bring forth and raise dead, to have any type of animation for animating dead, without a pile of bones or structures to be able to move and joints that can be assembled. I do think that animating dead just won't work for this situation. So as a DM, when you're looking at creatures is not clearly specified in the player's handbook or the dungeon master's guide or even the monster manual for that matter. And when you're looking at creatures, a creature is something that should be big enough that can be living, breathing, undead, or construct that has the ability to have at least a CR 0, in my opinion. It needs to be able to function in some form or another, or at least once lived there at some point and is considered a creature. In order to even qualify to be rezzed in any form, it is recommended that, there's a very vague information, but it's recommended that a creature should be something that is once living, and then still has the ability to be a living creature at CR 0. If you start getting down to organisms and the processed proteins of things, that are baked into delis and goods, crafted from back into a chair after the structural foundation of the creature has been removed, you're now stepping into another spell, such as Animate Object, because food is represented as an object, as well as chairs and tables, and the proteins, the atoms, the organic chemistry of it. While it is small enough, it is not fashionable enough to be considered a viable creature that we would view at a medieval standards. Even when you get into the future and you play campaigns in the future, Uh, we just don't have the ability to say that that is a living organism that can essentially attack us. Uh, that is not considered on the scale of viruses, diseases. Those things are represented as those individual classes, not an actual creature that is going to be attacking you. Um, so, all in all, I would have to say that with the information that I have found, um, proteins, organisms, they all fall into viruses, diseases, things like that, but they do not fall into the line of an actual creature and therefore cannot be resurrected, cannot be animated. Um, the fur is a possibility to be animated only because it is part of the original creature. And even then, you still need to uh, be using a higher level spell uh, to bring that back and reassemble the parts and limbs and so forth with like true resurrection. So all in all, creatures are something that needs to have at least a CR0 organic substance and provide some form of threat, uh, even if it's minor, and does not fall into the classifications for viruses, disease, plagues, all that stuff. That's going to be something that you're just not going to want to like turn into a creature or the possibility of. Anyway, that's my analysis on D20 epic level for whether or not we can raise dead on oozes, chairs, pieces of fur, or animate them in any way for animating the dead. Anyway, please subscribe and enjoy my next videos.